6 or 7 years ago, Hashem sent me a message, and I used to figure, Hashem says, you honor your mother, you live a long life. I think it's a good idea. So I made it a point to speak to her every day. And I learned a lot about her. One of the things is that there's a mother on the outside, which you see, and a mother on the inside, which I see. The mother on the outside was kind and gemilas chesed and tried to do her best and gave advice when it was necessary. The mother on the inside in our home was very different. My mother had an idea of how she wanted her children to be raised and how she wanted things done. And in reaching that goal, and going from point A to point B, everything was fair. No holds barred, gloves off, you're going to go from point A to point B, whatever it takes. To the outside world, it didn't matter. But to her children, if she thought that that was the right thing, you had to get there. And whatever it took, the end always justified the means. To say that my mother had my back was an understatement. My mother pushed me, and she protected me. When I was a student at a yeshiva, I was sent home one day. Came home in the middle of the afternoon, and my mother says, what are you doing here? I said, well, the rabbi sent me home because my hair was too long. I don't have that problem now, but at that time, my hair was too long. My mother got very angry, and she said, I'll be back. I felt sorry for the rabbi. She came back and told me that I could go back to school. And I went back to school and got a little haircut, and they never bothered me again. But amazing, the rabbi that she spoke to never had a beard. About 2 weeks after the speech with my mother, he grew a beard. And he had a beard till I graduated and had a beard to this day. So I asked my mother, I said, Mom, you know, what's going on here? She said, well, I had to explain to him. It's like the old, I had to talk to him. In South Philly, they have a different word for it, but had to talk to him. And it's, are you more pious because you don't have a beard? Maybe you're less pious because you don't have a beard. The beard is what makes you a rabbi, right? So my son's hair makes him what he is. That went on for a few minutes. She left. I went back to school and he grew a beard. So, go figure. That was having my back. She also pushed me. And the pushing was very unique to my mother. If I came home and I said, Mom, I did my best, but I flunked. You didn't do your best. Well, I really did my best. If you were stupid, I would understand. You don't have the capacity, you're dumb, I understand. But you're not stupid. And if you're not stupid, why didn't you get an A? But Mother, I really tried. You didn't try enough. Just keep trying. You're not, if you're dumb, I understand, but you're not stupid. And that was the constant reverberation. Sometimes we went to more elaborate lengths to get the motivation. But the bottom line was Mother was a motivator. When my son was unsure as to what he wanted to do, at one point he wanted to go into the Peace Corps, and my wife and I were going bananas. One day he comes home and he says, I'm going to take the law boards. I said, gee, what happened? I talked to Safta. He said, oh boy. I called my mother up. I said, what happened? Well, I had a little talk with him. Well, he had a little talk. It's fixed. That's what happens. I can tell you that I had a hot breakfast every morning. When I was in college, I had early biology lab, chemistry lab. My mother was up with me at 6 o'clock in the morning giving me a hot breakfast. I never went to work or school without a hot breakfast. I had cooked meals every day. When I came home, she was truly there for me wherever I was. She had two names for me. One name was Moshe and one name was Jimmy. When I was a good guy, I was Moshe. When I wasn't a good guy, I was Jimmy. So I used to, in retrospect, it was Midas Harachamim, Midas Hadin. The character trait of mercy and the character trait of justice. So when I heard, Jimmy, I want to talk to you, I knew I was in trouble. This was the characteristic of justice, and I was in for it. And she would just let you have it. And there was relentless, and just did it, and you were motivated. If I heard Moshe, that was great. I would come up, what do you want to talk about, Mom? This is great. Finally, Hashem arranged for me to be in Center City this weekend on Sunday, and I'm walking down the street, and I bump into my Rabbi Unger, who was instrumental in my journey. and just bumped into him in the street, and I told him about my mother. I said, Rabbi Unger, my mother had a horrible stroke, and she's in a coma, and her brainstem is dead. And I was really very despondent. And he thought for a minute, and he says to me, this is your mother's final act of chesed, kindness. And explain that typically when somebody does an act of kindness, they get something in return. You do something for me, I do something for you, you get something in return. When a person is in a coma, they cannot return the favor. So my mother was in a coma in order to permit people to do chesed for her so that she could not return the favor, and it would be a purely act of chesed. And all the people that were involved in this act of chesed, in caring for her and calling the rabbis and getting opinions as to what to do and how to manage it according to halacha. We gave her our word that we would follow halacha. All those people got her final act of chesed. You did something, you got nothing in return. She couldn't say thank you. And that was the ultimate act. The interesting thing is that my brother Leslie was the one who lived in New York, and he was with her every day. He would call me on the phone, blood pressure's dropping, what should I do? Being a surgeon, he just would cut it out. But we internists have to think about it and come to grips with it. But he arranged everything. He was with her, he held her hand, he was at her side. He was at her side when she passed away yesterday, called me as the process was going. But he was a recipient of her final act of chesed. She can't say thank you, but she permitted you to earn a great act of chesed. And I will miss my mother greatly, but I have to thank Hashem, and I have no hard feelings, I have no regrets.